Good afternoon. I hope you all are recovering from the post-lunch nap and all of the exhaustion that we've had over the last couple of days. I just wanted to let you know you're in for a treat. When I was asked to organize a panel of some of the most bright and inspirational young leaders in the denomination, I was pleased to have been able to present this panel here before you. I couldn't get all of the wonderful people, but I'm sure you're going to learn something today. I'd like to introduce the panel now. Here we have Bethany Amy. She's a board member on the DMYP, the Division on Ministries with Young People, and on Discipleship Ministries. She's also the head of the Greater New Jersey delegation. We have Johnny Jamba. She's a board member of the Division on Ministries with Young People as well, on Discipleship Ministries. German Methodist Youth and Young Adults Council member. She comes to us from Mainz, Germany. She traveled about 10 hours in the air to be here. We also have Venus May Gatula, a board member on the DMYP, also on Discipleship Ministries, on the connectional table, and she's a former executive vice president of the National UMYF in the Philippines. She came to us from Manila. She spent about 17 hours flying here. And finally, we have Maggie Taylor. She's the co-chair of the DMYP. She's also on Discipleship Ministries. And currently, she's the director of Youth and Connectional Ministries at the Heart of Steamboat Springs, UMC, in Colorado. And if I may, Maggie, would you please come up here and offer some background on what we're going to talk about today? Thank you.
Before I offer any background, I have a question for you all. Does anybody have a cell phone or a computer that they're not using to take notes? And we all know how distracting that could be, so I'm going to ask you to take a little bit of a technology break for the next 30 minutes. You all know how annoying it is when your kids or grandkids are on their phone when you're trying to talk to them. So we're going to ask you for the courtesy of paying attention for the next 30 minutes. I also am a member of the Tennessee Annual Conference and a delegate to the 2020 General Conference. Before we begin, I would ask those of you who are under the age of 35 and a delegate to the General Conference from your annual conference to please stand. Look around. If you are your delegation head for your annual conference, please remain standing. Please, once again, look around. Do you see us? We see you. Have you seen us over the last day and a half? Please engage with us, not only here, but in your annual conference, in your neighborhoods, in your local churches, and in other places in your life. Invite us. Take us seriously. Take our opinions and our suggestions seriously. And use us as a resource to lead to the inclusion of those who are inheriting our decisions. Partner with us as we dream and act in new ways that look for light in places you might not have thought to look. The presentation you are about to hear is from the Division on Ministries with Young People, which is a group that is not staff. It was dreamt up in the 1990s by those who were under the umbrella called the Shared Mission Focus. Some of you are in the room today. We thank you. The Division on Ministries with Young People is housed at Discipleship Ministries, but its members are a representative collective from across the connection, made up of youth, young adults, and adult workers. We are here to advocate for the concerns of young people inside and outside of the church, to love on young people, and to give them a voice. I hope you enjoy.
Thank you so much, Maggie. I really appreciate that. Now, I'm going to start with our first question here. I'm going to direct it right back to you. Can you tell us what is the Young People's Connectional Network?
So the Young People's Connectional Network is a different name for the Division on Ministries with Young People. We have changed aspects, and anything you see in the 1,200 paragraphs of your Book of Discipline is formerly known as the Division on Ministries with Young People, which we would hope would be Young People's Connectional Network. We changed the name for a few reasons. Division really didn't sound great right now in the church. So we made that change. And we, in our brainstorming, really wanted to emphasize that we're a connection of young people from diverse backgrounds, diverse theological ideas, diverse histories, and really to embrace all of those things while making sure to remain connected to our home context as well as each other. Once again, the point of this group would be advocacy as well as connection of young people throughout the United Methodist Church at all levels.
Thank you. Venus May, how will the proposed legislation affect young people's ministry and inclusion in the global church?
Thank you po. Magandang hapon. That's good afternoon in Filipino. For your question, some of the things that we were dreaming about, and I say dreaming about when we were trying to form the YPCN, we're very grateful for the discipleship ministries to let us dream and dream big for the young people. Some of the things that are important for us were sustainability and effectivity for us to do the work with having maybe a smaller number of more committed group of people to ensure that it allows for room, hopefully, for creativity and opportunities to network towards our, what we call now regional conferences, and hopefully to be able to do more work effectively, what was I going to say? Effectively to fulfill the purpose of the Young People's Connection and Network, which is to, as Maggie said, advocate for the full participation of the young people in all levels of the United Methodist Church.
Thank you. Bethany, what will United Methodist young people gain from this restructuring? And what will they lose?
So with the restructure, the idea is to really make the group more nimble and effective so that they can more easily do their work. One thing that they are going to lose, though, is because we are all in a time where financial restrictions and financial realities are part of our lives. You know, we will lose some voices at the table because we are taking our board from a larger number to a smaller number. So that is one of the losses and one of the gains at the same time.
Thank you. Johnny, how have young people made an impact in the general church over the last quadrennium?
So, over the last quadrennium of the MYP, young people made an impact in the general church by hosting, for example, the GYPC in South Africa, where the young people were able to do legislative work. They wrote amendments to the Constitution, and it was also where a unity statement from 2018 was crafted, which clearly stated the position of young people regarding the actual situation of a church. It stated to be united in spirit as one, it stated to be united as one body of Christ, despite of diversity of culture, tradition, political ideologies, language, beliefs, nationalities, and also personal identities. And there are also a lot of grants and scholarships that were granted thanks to the DMYP, and that helped a lot of young leaders in the world, in different countries, to start or continue projects that they have in their areas. Yeah, but Maggie will talk to it or about it later on.
Thank you. Maggie, what impact do you anticipate will take place by altering the membership of the network from 36 to 18?
Bethany kind of already spoke to the impact, but for me, we will be able to be more effective because we found that in our executive table meetings, which are a smaller gathering of our body, we are able to be more effective, to make decisions quicker, and to really be able to use the time that we have together to create the best advocacy and impact for young people.
Venus May, what does the future of the Global Young People's Convocation look like?
Over the past few decades, I would say GYPC is one of the biggest things that DMYP holds. The YPCN recommends the GYPC to the convocation to continue with its focus in shifting to equipping our young leaders to engage in legislative processes in other areas of the United Methodist Church. It will still be an opportunity and an avenue for young people to hear voices and create statements from each region of the church. And lastly, we hope for it to be a signature event wherein young people from all over the world can learn together, dream together, celebrate each other, and definitely learn the context of discipleship making from each region of the connection.
Bethany, do you expect that young people will have a greater voice in the church with the proposed changes in May?
Well, regardless of what happens in May, the church, as we are right now, if we're being honest, continues to disenfranchise the voice of a young person. We meet as a global body at the worst time of the year for young folks to participate. Youth are still in high school at the time, most likely unable to take 2 weeks off of school to participate. Our college students that are enrolled in university and college programs also are either graduating or in finals at that time. So, how do we continue to encourage young people if we're putting barriers in front of them to participate? So it really is to all of us within this room and the larger body, but it really is up to us to talk about how we're going to have young people at the table. I invite and challenge all of the folks that are here, that are listening to our panel, to recognize that the table is large. There's room for voices, and I will ask that how will each of you here commit to making space, not just in seat, but in voice and participation for a young person? How will you personally be willing to be supportive of young people within the life of the church?
Johnny, what are some of the varied concerns young people have in our church?
There are many things that concern young people in our church. For example, the fact of not being included, how Bethany already said, at the table in regards of a protocol, even though there surely have been young people consulted. However, wouldn't you say that it is important to include those who will be potentially be in the church in 20 to 60 years? To the questions and discussions regarding the shaping of the future UMC? They are the ones that will have to deal with decisions made, and there are only 7% of the folks elected at the GC that were young people, which is definitely not enough. So what does that say about the church truly being inclusive of a younger voice? We don't want to be only token representatives. We have said it over and over. We are not just the future of a church, we are the future and also the now. Economic justice, social justice, racial justice could also be keywords for a start. That said, many young people I talk to want the church to get out of its own way and do some real social good in their community. We want a church that we are not embarrassed to invite our friends to, and one that helps us develop our faith as we do live.
Maggie, what are some examples of DMYP awarding grants for outstanding young people's ministry?
So if I were to enumerate all of them, I would be up here all day. But through a combination of the Youth Service Fund and the grants for ministries with young people, the Division on Ministries with Young People has funded a wide variety of initiatives around the globe. The amount of youth that we have been able to fund is enormous, and once again, would take me a long time to share. But in 2019 and 2020, funds were used for leadership and discipleship training in Congo, Nigeria, Germany, Denmark, Pakistan, the Philippines, and the US, among other places. A new initiative that's coming up in 2020 is a group of projects called Young Leader Seminar Projects. They will allow young leaders in conferences in Africa and Southeastern Asia to coordinate projects that impact discipleship among those in their young adult age bracket with the blessing of their Episcopal offices.
Venus May, what is your hope for young people living into the connection of the UMC of the future?
I personally hope that the young people of the future are leaders, not just young leaders amongst the young people, but actual leaders of our church. I also hope that we would continue to engage in conversation, to extend grace to each other, and to advocate for each other. Advocate for the church, but most importantly, I hope we continue to advocate for the mission of our church as Jesus' disciples.
Bethany, what advice can you offer to young delegates going into the next quadrennium?
So this will be, including the special session, my 4th general conference. And one of the main things that I was told when I was first a part as a general conference delegate was, don't be afraid of your voice. Speak up, speak loud, speak your truth, and stand in it. Doesn't matter if people don't like it, it's your truth, speak it from your heart. Another thing I would say is be knowledgeable. Run for positions within your legislative committees. I had the privilege and the pleasure to serve as the legislative chair of Church and Society A last quadrennium, and I was a subcommittee chair in 2012. It was an honor to do that work. Be knowledgeable about your legislation. Partner with other seasoned delegates within your delegation. Ask them questions, ask them for help, ask them to guide you, ask them, if you're confused about something, it's okay, we all are. Even seasoned delegates who this might be their 9th time, we all get confused. No one is different. No one's voice is greater than someone else's voice. You all have the same vote. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. You all have the same vote. I also say, what's your self-care plan? It's for everyone. It's not just for young people, but what's your self-care plan? What are your comfort items that you need to be happy for the week, for the 2 weeks that you're there? It's so important to find good, comfortable shoes. What's your water bottle situation look like? What are your snacks that you're bringing with you? So that's my advice. Really just lean on each other, find other young adult delegates or youth delegates that are there as a young person, we are here to support each other. We're here to support each other's voice and to encourage each other's voice in place.
And Johnny, what is the gift the United Methodist Church has to offer to you and your peers?
For me personally, it is a great gift that, or to cherish all my brothers and sisters in Christ and to get to know each other and to understand that we are one big global church. And I am very happy to call friends I found in UMC also family, because they mean a lot to me. And I'm also thankful for the possibility of exchanging faith experiences, may they be good or bad. But yeah, you probably all know that sometimes you just feel like a small fish in a big sea, and it's good to know that you are not the only one. Yeah.
Well said. Well, those are pretty much all of the questions I have. I'd like to take this time to open it up to any of you out there. If you have any burning questions, I hope you discern something to stand up and ask. I know that for some of you, unfortunately, this may be your only chance to really dig deep and search the hearts of young people before you. And I pray that it will not be your last time. But feel free, if you have anything, to stand up to a microphone, and we'd love to hear from you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is John Astle, and I'm a communicator from the North Texas Annual Conference. And a long, long time ago, I used to be under 35. Kind of went away, but that happens with age, I guess. But in the North Texas Annual Conference, I am thrilled that we have one of the most diverse and young delegation that we have ever had as long as I've been in this annual conference. My question is, how would you encourage more young adult participation in the local church, from which leaders rise up in the global church?
So I would first call to your attention, when do you have things going on? Are things happening at your church when there are young adults that are still in school? Or do you make sure if you have something big going on in your church, you have young adults that are back home on Christmas break or on summer break? What are the times that you're scheduling those things in your local churches? Also, where's the personal invitation? You know the child that was baptized and confirmed in your local church. You were there, you made a commitment to them. But when you're looking for young people to be involved, they're not just gonna filter in on their own. Invite them to the table. Express to them the gifts that you see, and that will be a pathway to their involvement.
I would also add to that, I was a former director of children and family ministries. Be cognizant of offering childcare. Young families need childcare. It's a reality. You want young families, but you don't offer childcare, or you don't offer the opportunity for a young person who has a child to be available for a meeting because you don't offer childcare. That is a significant barrier for young families and young adults who have children to be able to be fully participatory.
I'd like to recognize right over here.
I'm Altura Easton Williams, clergy delegate from Memphis. And I wanted to thank you guys for your leadership. I served in youth ministry for many years, and actually I still do because I teach Sunday school to the youth at my church and lead the youth ministry currently. But I wanted to ask a question about the work that you're doing, how it connects to the youth ministry work or young people's work that's being done in the ethnic local caucuses and the national plans.
So one of the ways that we partner is making sure that we are aware of all of those events and that we try our best for all of those are mostly centralized in the United States, but that our members that come from jurisdictions are aware that those are happening. It kind of makes it really easy for the Native American plan and strengthening the Black church for the 21st century, since they're also housed at discipleship ministries, for us to get those events to our members, but also trying to create a cognizant awareness of all of the different things that are going on, creating a calendar where we can keep up with events. I have yet to go to an event of one of young people where I haven't recognized someone. And so it's been really great to continue those connections. And honestly, I think the way that we learn about things the most is through other people sharing on social media and on our internal connectional network, which is called Basecamp.
I would also say that more collaboration is always a great thing. So the more we can collaborate as young people with the various plans, work with the Interethnic Strategy Development Group, partner with them and hear about more things that are happening with the plans in respect to young people, that would be amazing.
Who was first?
I just have a quick question. You mentioned social media. I'm a communicator. What platforms are you using, and what do you want to see and hear from a local church or from a conference when it comes to using social media?
I could. So in my annual conference, I'm in the Southern Annual Conference from Germany. We use WhatsApp to contact the youth because that's the platform they are using. And we use a little bit of Facebook. It's not so actual anymore, so people more use different things, even though Facebook is still a big thing, but it's not, yeah.
I'm asking,
Yeah.
that's why I'm asking.
And yeah, and we got an Instagram account now, and there's a lot of action going on. So this is where this is where stuff is happening, kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
That's from my perspective.
Yes. And I think I just want to say that it's important to note that as we move forward to whatever the new body would look like, we're hoping for it to be a network. We want to, as the language of discipleship ministries, we're going to be, this group of people would be brokers of knowledge, that as they come from their context, their homes, and join together as a global church, that they would be brokers of knowledge of whatever is happening within their community, for them to be able to share whatever those things are back to their context. May it be sharing through social media, as Maggie said, may it be WhatsApp, Instagram, or other things that we use.
Okay, thank you.
I would also say Instagram is where it's
Instagram.
at.
Yes.
Cynthia Taylor, Baltimore, Washington Conference. I'm a lay delegate, and I'm a youth group leader at my church. Regarding the time of year or the timing for general conference and annual conference, have you considered submitting a petition to make changes to those things? Have you submitted any legislation as a body?
So the global GYPC, or what's known as the Global Young People's Convocation, I think it was sent something to 2016's General Conference that we would consider the calendars of young people as we plan our meetings and our timing. However, it didn't pass. So that's where we're at.
And I think we're going to have time for just one more question, and I think Harvey's coming up to that mic.
Hello, everyone. I'm Harvey Tukatal. I am a delegate from from Legacy Rocky Mountain Conference, Mountain Sky Conference, to General Conference. I am a young person and a person of color. I don't think I'm saying anything that hasn't already been said, but I just want to reiterate some things. On all levels, from General Conference down to your local church, even into your schools, into your sports programs, little leagues, everything. Kids, youth, young adults, we all have voices, individual voices. It's not all collectively one voice. It's we all have voices. We all need to be able to recognize that. We need to be able to recognize that we can't belittle younger people. Yeah, some of us are young, dumb, and broke. A lot of us are young, dumb, and broke. But we also need to realize that we all have a voice. We all have ideas. We are all very strong. We all need to realize that and see that within us. Because I, for one, as a head of my delegation, sometimes I feel voiceless within my own church, within my own delegation, within my own conference. But I'm trying to get out of that shell. And if you know me, I'm a quiet person. I don't really talk much. When I get comfortable, I will. But I'm getting out of that, and I want y'all to help young people get out of that shell. I'm like losing track of thought. But that's what I'm saying, just on all levels, from everywhere, not even within the church, within the schools, within sports programs around your community, anywhere. And another thing is, I use Twitter. Instagram's all right, but I know people like pictures and all that on Instagram. I'm not a picture guy. I'm very shy. But Twitter, that's where it's at. Corny hashtags don't really work for me, but I mean, use what y'all want to do. Cool.
Thank you, Harvey. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Please give these folks a...
Can I add one more thing? Sorry.
Out of time.
Can I add one last thing? I don't. Can she answer the date question?
We're just a little short on time. Sorry.
Okay. The last thing I would say is there is no such thing as the way things have always been. That's it.
All right.
Thank you so much, Maggie, and we
Thank you
appreciate
again.
all that.
Yes.